After almost 2 years of restricted movement thanks to COVID, we at last were able to travel and go on a touring holiday of Spain. Our first stop was Teruel, a city north of Valencia, and we stayed in a small hotel in the country, the Massaet de Torre. It was a lovely rural hotel and extremely comfortable with very good food. One of the main reasons for our trip was to see interesting buildings, town squares and cathedrals. And the best way to see it was taking the tourist train here in Teruel.
You got a fast car, I got a plan to get us out of here. Been working at the convenience store, managed to save just a little bit of money. Won't have to drive too far, just cross the border and into the city.
Our next stop was north in Zaragoza. Here we stayed in the city centre, which was conveniently close to the old town. The Grand Hotel, which may well have been grand 30 years ago, now showed signs of faded glory. Nevertheless, it was clean and comfortable and very convenient. The cathedral, sitting beside the river Ebro, was built in the 12th century and has undergone many transformations. The current version was completed in the Baroque style in 1686. Onward once again to our next city, Burgos. As before, we stayed in a village outside the city at the Bishop's Palace. Unfortunately, only the facade of the building had character, whereas the inside had been modernised, albeit to a very high standard. The cathedral at Burgos was built in the 13th and 18th centuries and has the distinction of being a World Heritage Site. This is where there was a burial place of El Cid, but we didn't see it. However, we did see some dodgy characters in the Plaza Mayor. Had a feeling I could be someone. Next stop was the city of Lyon. Once again, we stayed in the city centre. The 13th century cathedral is a masterpiece of the Gothic style. Internally, it houses the largest collection of medieval stained glass, almost 20,000 square feet in total. The surrounding buildings are attractive, as is the Plaza Mayor. I remember when we were driving in your car. Speed so fast, it felt like I was drunk. City lights lay out before us, and your arm felt nice wrapped around my shoulder. And I had a feeling that I belonged. I had a feeling I could be someone. To Santiago de Compostela. And once again, our hotel was in the countryside, a converted farmhouse with comfortable rooms and the view of a coffin. Actually, it was a storage area for grain. The food here was memorable, not only for its quality, but its enormous quantity, and at a very reasonable price. In the morning, we headed towards the cathedral, as did many walkers who were completing their pilgrimage to the cathedral. Unfortunately, entry to the cathedral was via a queue some over 100 metres long, so we skipped it. The architecture of the cathedral, the Plaza Mayor, and the surrounding buildings was stunning. Santiago is a lovely place, but too many tourists for our liking. Heading south, we set off for Salamanca. Outside the city, we stayed in a real 11th century castle, which was tastefully renovated in 1958 and retained many of its original features. As we had chosen a suite, we had to climb several staircases to get to our room, which was really nice but not very good for my knee. I wanted to get to anywhere, maybe we make a deal.
Maybe together we can get somewhere. Any place is better.
Salamanca has the distinction of having two cathedrals, the new and the old. The old was built in the 12th century, whilst the new was built in between the 16th and 18th century. Both occupy the same area. And the University of Salamanca is reckoned to be one of the three oldest in the Western world. Plaza Mayor is enormous and reminded us of the one in Madrid.
Just cross the border and into the city. You and I can both get jobs and finally see what it means to be
On now to our final city, Cuenca. We stayed in the old town in a seminary which was built in the Baroque style in 1746. This is a lovely place right in the centre of the old town and an easy parking. We were told that our suite was the one which the bishop used when he came to visit. Well, believe anything. In the morning we took the tourist train to see all the sights round the old town and new town of Cuenca. The cathedral itself lies behind a sham frontage, which in itself has become a tourist attraction. Lots of things to do in Cuenca, hanging houses, the gorge and the enchanted city. We'll return again soon, but now home.
Maybe we make a deal.
That was love.